Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to This is Mariya. Today, we're going to talk about darkness. Specifically, why is there so much darkness in the world? How come there's so much evil in the world? All of these bad people, all of these bad circumstances, all of these things that we cannot control that don't seem like they are in the highest good of all of us. And so if there is the God, the source, the creator, creatress consciousness, how come they created a world that is this unfair? How did we end up here? Wouldn't it be easier for someone upstairs to just fix all of our mistakes so we can live in a happy and harmonious place? These and many other questions are very loud, many similar questions are very loud in the collective right now. And so I figured I would address it and offer you a perspective that hopefully can give you a peace of mind and a broader understanding of the larger picture of cause and effect that is very much alive and breathing on planet Earth. So it is my desire to give you the answer to this big question, why, in the course of this video. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you, or if you're new here, I wanted to let you know that I wrote a book about manifestation. It is a channeled book. It is called 72 Keys to Manifestation, or An Ancient Path of a Modern Day Alchemist. And it is a beautiful journey that can be completed within 72 days that has the keys to enable you to manifest the life that you want. It is a book based on energy. Alchemy is first and foremost the study of energetic transformation and transmutation. So essentially, the book is about how you can take energy and turn that into material objects or states in the material world that you desire for yourself. All right, my darlings, let's dive into this whole concept of darkness or evil. Let me preface this video by stating that darkness is not in and of itself evil. In fact, darkness, just like light, was created by Source. Source created both of these things. In fact, the absolute source, the source of all that is, created every single emotion on the emotional spectrum that you could possibly feel. So not just love, but also hate and everything in between. In our current world, we tend to use evil and darkness interchangeably. So for the sake of this video, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be bound, or I'm going to abide by the constraints of language and by the way things are on planet Earth at the moment, and use these things interchangeably. Although from the greater perspective, they are anything but. Darkness and evil are not synonymous. Darkness, perhaps, is most synonymous with chaos or antimatter. Evil is something else entirely. Let's set that aside, though. Let's set that argument aside and focus on the question at hand. Why is there so much evil in the world? Wouldn't it be so much nicer if everybody could get along and nobody had to deal with the unfortunate circumstances and events? People didn't have to deal with the bad stuff. Wouldn't that be nicer? The answer is, from the soul perspective, no. There are many utopian worlds that your soul could have incarnated in. It is very much a choice that is available to you at any given point in time. What do I mean by utopian worlds? These are the worlds where things are so harmonious that you do not have the polarity or polarization that you witness on a planet like planet Earth. In other words, there are worlds out there, even in our immediate universe, where polarity and evil doesn't exist. Worlds filled with light and love. Those worlds usually serve a specific purpose. if you incarnate during or inside of these worlds, either you want that as an experience because you've never had it before, or you would like a respite and rest and reset between some of the challenging incarnations that you have been going through. What worlds like planet Earth offer is something else entirely. This is not a planet to come and rest on. This is not a world of respite. This is not a world where you come to rest and rejuvenate or recharge your batteries. This is a world where you come for growth, expansion, and evolution. And so everything about this world is meant to trigger you. Everything about this world is meant to push your buttons. Everything about this world is meant to feel uncomfortable, unfriendly, challenging. Because it is through the greatest challenge that we grow at soul level. It is through the trials and tests and tribulations and things going off the rails that we get to become better versions of ourselves. And so, if you're thinking that God or Goddess, consciousness, that source, is not acting and not shifting things on planet Earth because God doesn't care, it couldn't be farther from the truth. God cares. Source cares above anything and anyone else. And that is precisely why the things on planet Earth are as they are. You see, darkness was allowed to thrive on planet Earth. How come? Souls come here it's like one of the reasons that they come here is to explore the dichotomy between darkness and light. To perhaps explore both. To explore the context of each one and the contrast between the two. And then pick a side, right? So if you align to planet Earth, there's something about this conflict between good and evil that you resonate with or are curious about at soul level. This is a conflict that you find stimulating or interesting. This is a conflict you're curious about. And so you chose a game, i.e. this incarnation, that enables you to satiate your curiosity. Nothing more, nothing less. So, as we are coming into this transition, the end of the cycle, moving from 3D to 5D, certain things are going to start staring you in the face. And one of the things that has become really apparent to a whole lot of people is how dark the darkness is, or how evil the evil is on this planet, and how deep the rabbit hole goes. And I know that in some humans and in some people, whether on the spiritual path or off the spiritual path, it doesn't really matter. That causes so much aggravation and so much heartache that it can be quite debilitating. So here's the why. Darkness or evil is a fantastic trigger. It is one of the most successful triggers that exists within the current concept of the Matrix. Any world, any dimension. So darkness or evil is exceptionally triggering. What do I mean by triggering? And what does the darkness trigger? So when you are faced with evil, whether you're observing it or somebody is acting towards you in a way that you would perceive as evil. So when evil is staring you straight in the face, what happens is you become triggered. As in, it is really, really hard for an incarnated human to never be triggered by true and complete and utter evil. It is very hard. It's one of those triggers that is so automatic, it's like a knee-jerk reaction. Now, darkness can trigger you in two ways. First, it can trigger the darkness in you. And that usually starts the cycle of clearing things up. And I'm going to explain this in a second. Or darkness can trigger the light in you. That part of you that is innate to you, that is goodness. And that part of you is going to be interacting with darkness in a certain way But regardless of how your light interacts with your inner or your outer darkness, there's one thing that is true eventually in 100% of the cases. Light always grows through interactions with darkness. If you give light enough cycles, and if you place right next to it a sophisticated enough adversary from call it the camp of evil, there's one thing that we know to be true about light is it expands, grows, and evolves. It doesn't diminish, it doesn't shrink. But as a general rule, when faced with a lot of darkness, light grows. And that is just what we have found to be true for our immediate universe. And so if you find yourself amidst tough circumstances or surrounded by evil or darkness, if you see a lot of that on TV, if you see a lot of that just around you, know it is because it came as a trigger. And what it is triggering is your own expansion. Darkness and evil always triggers your expansion. Now, let's talk really quickly about that first aspect, and then we'll go back to the second, right? So that first trigger. So when you are looking at the darkness, right, your mirror neurons, the mirroring principle, the law of resonance, in some cases is going to trigger your own darkness within. So when darkness calls or evil calls, what responds within is something that vibrates at its level, right? And very often, if that is the case, that means that there's something within you at the level of the soul that hasn't come to terms with your own light yet, or is resisting your own light. And that is where you go on a merry-go-round, or you go on a hero's journey of working through that aspect of you that is causing you to act in a way that may not be perceived as good, right? Sometimes that takes you off your path for many, many lifetimes. And yet, this is a learning curve and a learning period that you need at soul level to be able to make the right choices eventually and to be able to be faced with your own light eventually. Sometimes this is called temptation. Like this form of the darkness within, recognizing the darkness without, is called temptation. That is why evil can tempt you, quote unquote, into doing certain things. Like attracts like. They say, it's impossible to tempt somebody who's not temptable, right? If you don't have the vibration of something that you've been tempted with, whatever that is inside of you, there's no way that will tempt you. Just no way, because you're not a vibrational resonance. But if there is something in you that is vibrating in the same level of frequency, it will come out. It will show itself quite unexpectedly, even if it's buried 17 layers deep and you didn't even know that you had it. And by the way, the darkness outside can trigger your own personal darkness, and it can trigger the darkness of your lineage, right? So the lineage healing is also possible here, right? So anytime you feel tempted, it is because the darkness within is responding to the darkness without. So just recognize that. The people who cannot be tempted or cannot be tempted easily are the people that have done so much internal work that internally there's so little darkness left that it is quite impossible for them to stray off the path because they just don't vibrate with the frequency of being tempted. Been there, done that. Worked through that, integrated it, I am light. So that is that first road, right? Let's look at the second road, when the darkness triggers the light within you. I would divide the second interaction with darkness and evil into two other paths. The first path, and very common, is a path of this holy war. Us versus them. Let's fight them. Let's expose them. Let us share with the world how bad the bad is and how evil the evil is. And let's all rise up. Let's all raise the arms and fight them. That is the holy war. And God, it's been here for millennia. It is these holy sacred wars have existed within every religion, every dogma, obviously in politics. And we are seeing a little bit of that right now, even in spirituality, where a lot of people, the moment they awaken, all of a sudden they go into conspiracy theories, because that is like that first layer in. And they join the warrior stance of, I'm going to fight this and I'm going to expose the cabal and everything else. I'm not saying that this is not the right path, right? It all depends on your vibrational resonance. But this is the interim path. This is not the end game. So first you get triggered by darkness in resolving your own darkness. Once you've done enough of the merry-go-round of temptations, then you move to the second path and you fight darkness. You join the holy war. You become the warrior of light. You become the starseed that wants to fight the cabal, whatever that may be. The third path is the path of acceptance, and the path of unity consciousness, and the path of oneness. And that is also something that darkness can trigger within. The path of complete equanimity and the understanding, right, that the world needs both. And truly, we're all one, right? And everyone and everything, every particle within you and every particle outside of you is deserving of love. Love is everyone. It's everyone's birthright. It's the frequency that is core to our strata. It's core to our vertical of reality. So that is the third path, right? And so eventually, once you've done enough of the merry-go-round, like circles or cycles of fighting darkness, what you're going to reemerge as is acceptance, is seeing the full picture of why certain things need to happen, of seeing the full picture of, war and genocide and death and, terminal illness and big pharma and all of these things. And understanding that that is all a part of the game. And darkness does not exist outside of being a catalyst, or rather evil does not, right? Evil is a catalyst. The catalyst for light to accept its own light. Darkness or evil is a shortcut to ascension, to evolution, to growth, to expansion, to being able to encapsulate more light within your own light bodies at soul level. And that is beautiful. So no, looking at darkness and wanting to throw a stone at them or at it is being in the warrior stance. And it is missing the picture, truly. It's being at a level of existence that sometimes it makes sense to graduate from and look at the world from a different perspective with full acceptance and gratitude. Gratitude for, the way things are, because everything is a learning mechanism. And through experiencing darkness, so many people are going to choose their own light. Through experiencing evil, so many people are going to choose the goodness inside of them and going to lead by example. But eventually, it is the middle path, if you will, the non-judgment zone, the zone of observation, simply observing the cause and effect of things without placing your own temporal judgment on it, and understanding that everything exists in the highest good, even evil. I wanted to see if the collective has any questions for me in regards to this very charged topic. The question is, so do you approve of all the evil people in this world then? And do you not detest or defy war? You see, I'm in a place where I don't have approve or disapprove of anything. I'm in a place where I simply acknowledge its existence. I'm not in resistance to evil, and it is not in resistance to me. We're in a state of equilibrium. Do I feel called to defy war? I don't. You see, when something has been boiling under the surface, energetically, it is real, although in the physical level, the conflict may not be happening. So if two territories are antagonistic to each other, before there is an overt conflict, there are so many precursors and predispositions to that on the level of energy. To me, energy is just as real as the physical, if not more so, because it is the precursor to how things are, the inception point of the outcomes. So when you may not be witnessing war, I am witnessing war at the energy level. It is just behind the scenes and things are brewing. And war, in fact, is in some ways a constructive way of trying to resolve those antagonistic energies that have been brewing for decades, very often, for decades. And these energies need an outlet. Because if these energies cannot come out, they're going to fester and they're going to create wounding within humanity that is going to be pretty dramatic. It's like instead of working through your anger, you can end up losing your foot or something, or your arm, right? To that degree. So no, I don't like when things fester energetically. When certain patterns, certain dramatic patterns are not addressed. This is actually quite damaging to the entire ecosystem, not just the human beings, to Gaia and every single kingdom of Gaia. When things are unresolved, because unresolved conflict, it is this antagonistic conflict. It is the production of negative energy. And that production of negative energy becomes exponential at one point when it is not able to be addressed. And there's only so much negative energy that planet Earth can hold at any given point in time without flipping off its axis and going completely haywire. And so, unfortunately, it is important for these energies to rise up, bubble to the surface, and act themselves out in the open, manifest themselves. And very often they manifest through war. But you see, where you see war, I see a healing process. I'll explain to you. If the person is bleeding, is that a good thing or a bad thing? A lot of you said it's a bad thing. I will tell you, it depends. If the person is going through surgery and they're bleeding because something had to be opened up by a very capable surgeon to extricate some type of blocker on the physical level, the person is bleeding. But is that a good thing for the person? Yes, especially if the surgery goes well. You want that person to bleed during surgery if that's what it takes for that person to be fully healed and restored to their primal condition. Same thing with war. Sometimes war is necessary because the emotions that are brewing within humanity are of that frequency. And the only way they can be resolved is through an armed conflict. It doesn't mean I approve of war, but let's just say that I am not in opposition to war. And through understanding the cause and effect, you start taking war as conceptually very close to a surgery. So in the same way that I would never blame this concept of having a surgery or anybody choosing to undergo surgery or anybody needing surgery. No, I cannot defy war. I cannot put a black stamp on it and say there's no room for war on planet Earth. I will tell you though, would I like to see a whole other reality where there's no war on planet Earth? But the reason there's no war is because there's no underlying conflict that would create war in the first place? Where there are no festering emotions that need to be resolved in this seemingly non-kosher, bloody way? Yes, I would like to have that future. But I would have that future in the most authentic way. I would have authentically beautiful, harmonious energies and not fake harmonious, trying to hide something under the rug and pretend it's not there when everybody sees the pink elephant in the room. I hope that helps explain. Is there another question from the collective in relationship to this topic? So the question is, if there is war and it's really triggering me, or genocide or anything, right, that of this caliber, and it is triggering me, what should I do? So you need to see how it is triggering you and which of the two paths you would really want to take, right? And remember, like, if it's triggering you as light, right? So is it triggering the light side of you where you want to fight? And the word, and fighting can come in many different shapes or sizes, right? Many, many different ways. It's not just showing up with a gun, right? Is your natural inclination to fight? And if so, right, that means that you need to go through a circle of your own healing of why this is triggering to you, right? Which aspects of you cannot accept somebody else's right to resolve conflict in this way? Why is this so triggering? Why is this so threatening? So look within at your own tendencies for violence and your own victim archetype. Do you potentially associate yourself with the one side of the conflict that comes across as a victim? Is that what's happening? Then go and heal your victim. And the situation in the external world is going to become a lot less threatening. Now, if the part that is triggered within you is the part of oneness, then your role in this conflict is holding the space for both parties to resolve their differences in the way that serves them, without forcing their hands, without crying and screaming or becoming all depressed about it, just holding space. In the same way that you would hold a space for a loved one when they come to you with an issue and you're just there to listen. In the same way as oneness, you can hold space for any kind of, call it atrocity if you want to give it a judgmental word like that, or for any kind of happening that you may perceive to be negative. You may hold space for it. And if you feel there is not enough of you, then expand your light bodies. Grow and stretch. Accept more vibrations of your higher self so that concept of oneness can be closer to you vibrationally. So you could match it, so you could reach it. So you could look at things from a different angle. So all things that may not feel to you like they're fair. So all of these things, all the unfair, unjust things, stop triggering you. And that is how you know you are on the right side of that conflict. When you feel no need to pick sides, you have arrived. Because you pick the side of oneness. You pick the side of evolution, growth, and change. And yes, sometimes it has to happen through war. I hope this was helpful to you. If you're watching this on YouTube, please let me know in the comments how you're feeling about all this. I know this is extremely triggering content, so let me know how you're feeling, if you resonate, and if not, what your argument is. I'm sending you so much love. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, darlings.